6 months ago, I visited Shorncliffe, the Napier Barracks. I put this video out and it showed they were about to fill up with about 400 to 450 young men who'd recently crossed the channel illegally in dinghies, and they were going into the army camp at Shorncliffe. Spoke to some concerned local residents, and I did voice myself a question about suitability. Then we went on, of course, to Penally, that camp in West Wales, and I showed you a few weeks ago a march that took place through Tenby where they're complaining that conditions in the army camp aren't good enough. I also visited last year Barton Stacey, former army camp, where the proposal is to put up mobile homes and put 500 migrants there. Why are we filling up old army camps? Well, the reason is we're now housing at a massive cost 60,000 people who have illegally entered the United Kingdom. I suppose unless you're going to stop the boats from coming, unless you're going to deport people, you have to find more and more facilities because the hotels are getting full up. But of course, these are not the conditions that people who've come illegally to the UK expect. They want a 4-star hotel. They want flat screen TV. As it is, at the Napier Barracks, they've got safe accommodation, a bed, 3 square meals a day, and the freedom to more or less come and go as they please. I'm sure there are homeless ex-army veterans who would quite like to be looked after like that, but it's not been good enough for these people. And they've been encouraged in many ways by groups here in the United Kingdom. And this is what is outrageous. We have all these groups, little left-wing groups. They give themselves a variety of name, Care for Calais, Kent Refugee Action Group, etc., etc. But these groups effectively are encouraging the illegal trade across the channel, encouraging the criminal gangs to make yet more profits. But worse still, they're actually encouraging people inside these camps to stand up and protest and ask for better conditions. So there was quite a big COVID outbreak at Napier Barracks a few weeks ago. About 100 people were isolated from the rest. Then 100 of their number were taken and put into a hotel in Hythe. Hythe, super little Kentish seaside town, the sort of place you'd pay to go on holiday. Well, with 100 in quarantine, 100 moved down to Hythe, the rest that were left behind weren't very happy. Then, last week, a protest takes place outside the gates of the Napier Barracks. Blood is daubed on the gates, and the cry from those that want this trade in illegal immigration to continue, who don't see any limit to the numbers, the cry was, blood on your hands, you must not leave these people living in these conditions, they deserve better. Guess what? The next day, they set fire to it. That's right, they actually set fire to one of the huts. Look at these pictures. Now just think about this. Here are people who have illegally entered the United Kingdom. They're going through an asylum claim process at the moment. Nearly all will get rejected. Very few will get removed. And yet their gratitude to the British state for being allowed to stay here illegally, for being fed 3 meals a day and given a bed and medical care, their gratitude is to set fire to the accommodation. But what is really, really, really maddening is they're being encouraged to behave like this by refugee action groups in this country. And I wonder, are the police, are the authorities going to take any action on this? Because I really, honestly, genuinely and truly think that they should. So what's happened since the fire? You've guessed it. We've given in. Yep, we've given in. We've moved those that are not currently being isolated within Shorncliffe. They've all now been moved to a holiday park where they've got their own accommodation, chalet type living. We've completely given in. The only good news, I think, is for those villagers living in Barton Stacey. I think the chances now of a camp being set up there are much, much less than they were when I came to visit back in December. But on this goes. And you may not have seen much about it, but still, through the month of January, there were people coming across the English Channel, escorted on most occasions by the French Navy, despite the £150 million we've now given the French to stop this trade. Oh, and COVID. Confirmed COVID cases coming into the port of Dover. I guess that is no surprise. Last week, a boat landed on the beach at Walmer. They went on the run. 4 of them are still on the run. Evidence was found of changes of clothing being provided. So you do wonder, actually, how many people that come, perhaps landing at the dead of night, just disappear. And what do we get? What do we get from the Home Secretary? Yet another speech saying that she was appalled at the ingratitude of the illegal migrants for setting fire to Shorncliffe. We keep being told the trade will be stopped. We keep being told deportations will continue. And yet, as part of the Brexit deal, we now have no arrangement under any circumstances to send people back to France. And of course, we've stayed part of the European Court of Human Rights, which makes it very difficult to deport even those we suspect of terrorism. So we're in a right mess with this. I've encouraged you before to write to your MPs. A lot of you have emailed me back to say that despite writing 4 or 5 times to your MPs, you're not even being given the courtesy of a reply. Well, my advice is keep the pressure on. Make people realise in Parliament, in government, that actually British taxpayers are sick to the back teeth of the billions and billions of pounds that are being spent on this. And that as soon as the weather gets warmer and calmer, we all know that thousands and thousands more will come across the English Channel. Priti Patel, I've just had enough of your tough talk. I've had enough of no action. It's time that you did something. So please, why don't you write, not just to your MP, why don't you write to Priti Patel to tell her that we actually need action, not just words. And the outrage of this illegal trade being encouraged by recognised groups within the United Kingdom, encouraging people to break the law, something, I think, from our police forces needs to be done, because as it is, it's outrageous.